What's good, everyone? Ben Spicer here with DR Sports and the platform. We have a big announcement. Exciting times with DR Sports. We're going to be launching the DR Sports Academy, which is essentially a free service for high school, middle school football athletes across the country. A chance for them to be able to learn some things, some tips and strategies that might help them out in their recruitment and just in life in general that they might not be familiar with. And we're really excited to welcome our first guest here on the Academy as we have Coach Reggie Rusk joining us here. Let me get off the screen there and welcome in our guest. Coach has spent time in the NFL, played in the SEC as well. Coach, tell us a little bit about your background and your history with football.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I played in the NFL for 6 years. Played with three different teams: the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, San Diego Chargers at the time, and the Seattle Seahawks. Attended the University of Kentucky. There, where I was all SEC safety there, and after retiring due to injury, been coaching young athletes for the past 20 plus years, and just love giving back to the kids and giving them a platform and opportunity to hopefully one day make it, to the NFL or own their own business, whatever the case may be.
We certainly appreciate your time. I know we were talking about getting this set up, and you were one of the first coaches that came to mind. So we really appreciate you and all that you do for the kids, not only in Texas, but all across the country.
Well, I appreciate that.
Real quickly, kind of to circle back around, you mentioned playing at the University of Kentucky, but before that, I believe you had a stop in junior college. So just tell us about that a little bit, and then how you ultimately found your way to Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, I took the long road to the success, and what I try to always make sure that kids realize that, as long as you stay focused, stay dedicated to the craft, doesn't matter how you start. It's how you're gonna finish at the end. In high school, was one of the best athletes at the school. Actually, won most athletic of the entire school. But the end of my senior year had zero college offers, and I contribute a lot of that to no recruiting, lack of recruiting. We didn't have social media and some of these tools that kids have today. So at the end of my senior year, I found myself with no college offers and no opportunities really. And fortunate enough for me, my coach for that one year, he became one of our head coach that year. He had a relationship with Coach Rush out in California. He had sent some kids out there at City College of San Francisco before, and he presented me with that opportunity, and I just took that opportunity and said, "Hey, man, I just want to continue to playing football. I don't care where it's at. It could be in another country. I just want to play and give myself that opportunity." So went out there for 2 years and ran into another great coach, a mentor who just taught me so much about myself and so much about the game. And 2 years there, man, I was awarded a scholarship to play at the University of Kentucky. So I consider that my most memorable time in my football career, to be honest with you. That 2 years at junior college really fortified the person that I am today.
And I kind of feel like some kids today may not consider that junior college option, but you touched on the technology that we have today, and that's a more accessible route going that junior college route now probably than ever before because of the exposure opportunities and things like that now with technology at the junior college level.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think social media has really, I don't want to say warped, but in a sense, it has warped the thought process of a lot of kids because they all feel like they need to go to Division 1 to validate who they are as a player. I loved my 2 years at junior college because it gave me an opportunity to grow up and become the man that I should be, and it gave me an opportunity to play as a freshman. So when I went there, no expectations. You're just going. You want to continue your career, and I went there and played early. Started as a freshman, and started gaining more and more confidence every game. And that was crucial for me coming from no offers. So kids today, the ultimate goal is to continue to play, to continue to do what you love to do. It doesn't matter where it's at. You just want to continue that. And if you're good enough, they will find you. And social media is definitely a platform that they can use to help elevate themselves, to help brand themselves for college coaches.
What we want to highlight really on this first episode is social media. We've talked about the good. There is some downfalls to it. We'll get to that here coming up. But just to start things off, I think the most important social media platform that you can use in terms of being seen, being recruited, where all the college coaches are, is Twitter. That's the way to really get your name out there. But the way you optimize your profile is important because you have to be able to, first and foremost, be found. So what are some ways maybe you can set up your Twitter page to best be seen and get yourself out there?
I think the most important thing, and whenever I'm speaking with athletes, I make sure that I stress this. Your Twitter handle is very important, and your Twitter handle should be your name. you know, it's even hard for me trying to find kids that play on my team sometimes because they don't realize how important just having their name as a handle. That would be the very first thing, is to make sure that your handle is recognizable for any college coach who's looking for you, or someone, um, to make sure that you're able to find that person on Twitter. So the handle and the name is very uh, important for athletes to understand.
And when you first get a Twitter, I know it gives you, when you type your name in, it gives you like, Reggie and then a bunch of numbers. So obviously you don't want to do that. It seems like anytime I ask a kid their Twitter and they still have that, they don't know all the numbers, of course, because it's like 8 to 9 numbers. So you can easily go into Twitter. I think they used to have it where you had to be on a computer, but now you can probably do it on mobile to where you can change your name. But another thing you can do on Twitter that is going to be the first thing that's seen when people go to your profile is your bio. And obviously, there's a character limit in that. But what are some things that you would suggest including in that bio to sort of help you stand out?
I think definitely if you have won awards, uh, mentioning those things really are appealing to a coach. If I'm the DB of the year, I mean, if I'm looking for DBs, won, defensive back of the year. That's something that's intriguing to me to look at. So having those awards in the bio, having your college, I mean your school, high school, in your bio, I think that's important because, of course, college coaches are looking at specific schools. Well, now they know you are the guy that they're looking for because it has their the high school in there. I think also in your bio, you should give your high school coach credit. And a lot of times some kids have issues with their high school coach, but you have to understand that the college coaches, the first person they're going to speak to is not your trainer, it's your high school coach. So if you don't have a good relationship or even any type of relationship with your high school coach, I mean, that could be a detriment to your recruiting process. So maybe having your high school coach in your bio would be very good for any high school player. Also, I think it's important to, what's your contact number, like, yeah, or your email. Having those things in your bio. One of the things I always make sure that I stress to my athletes is to create a link tree, and once they put the link tree in their bio, it will allow them, if they have a website, if they have highlight videos, any of those things could be associated with that link tree, along with their huddle, which is very important for them to put into their bio as well. Because if I want to see a short clip and see what type of player you are. All of that information is very accessible to any college coach that's looking for, a short clip on that particular player.
How important is it, and maybe to rephrase it, how detrimental could it be to your potential chances if you fabricate your numbers a little bit? Like I'm 6'2", for example. What if I said I was 6'4"? What if I said I run a 4.5 and I actually run a 4.9? How could that come back to hurt me?
Yeah, definitely. That definitely will ruin your credibility. And at the end of the day, this is the most important thing. Relationships are the most important thing because just like we mentioned just a second ago about your relationship with your high school coach. Well, if you are portrayed as a liar or someone who fabricates who they are, well, college coaches are going to know if you're 5'9" and you're saying you're 6'2", they're going to know that. And that's going to ruin your credibility. And in today's society, your credibility, your ability to create and build relationships is super, super important.
How beneficial is it to make sure in that link section of Twitter that you're including your huddle film? Just sort of from ease of access, but also to make sure that's on your page first and foremost.
Yeah, I think that's very important because, like I said, coaches want to get a glimpse if because you have to realize coaches are not able to travel like they used to do back in the day. Now they just basically they'll go on Twitter, they'll look at huddle film, and you want to make sure that that's your resume. That's for a coach to click that link and see 2 to 3 minutes, not 10 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes of your best plays. And starting at the beginning of that huddle, you want your top plays at the beginning of that, and you do not want it over 3 minutes. We're living in a social media, life now, and everything is quick. So in the first 30 seconds, if I'm not captured by what I've seen, I'm not going to watch the rest of it. So make sure that, it's very important that that huddle link is there and the huddle film is designed or set up the correct way.
There's a couple ways you can post your huddle film. Of course, you can put it in the link section in your bio. I've seen kids also post that as a tweet and then pin it to their profile so it's easily visible. So those are a couple options to consider. You can also do both. To continue our social media discussion, we're focusing on Twitter again on this episode. I want to talk about how Twitter can be a negative in recruitment. We've talked about the positives, but coaches are certainly looking, Reggie, at what you're saying and also what you're liking on there. And there's been situations where that's been a hindrance to kids and cost some kids scholarships.
Yeah, that's a well, it goes back to relationships and it goes back to character. Um, Even though you don't necessarily have to tweet something, but if you like it or if you retweet it and it's got some controversial topics dealing with it, that could be something detrimental to your recruitment because if you like it or if you retweet it, that means you feel the same way. And, with things though are the way that they are now, people are very self-conscious of, uh, you know, I just think real world issues, right? So you have to be very mindful about what you're liking, what you're retweeting. Make sure that, like I always tell athletes, make sure you're only tweeting positive content, your workout videos, motivational tips, motivational videos, things that you want a coach to get a quick snapshot of who you are because they don't know you personally. But if I go on your Twitter page and I see some stuff that is kind of controversial, it will give me a snapshot of who I think you are. And that's all I can go by since I don't know you personally. So those things are very important, and you have to be aware of what you are retweeting or liking on your social media.
Is there any benefit to me as a high school recruit replying to coach tweets with my huddle film? Or what is the best way to go about that to send them that huddle film?
I think the best way is probably a private message. You know, I see these people get on here on Twitter, especially, and they say, drop your huddle film. Like they're not watching two, three, 400 links of all of these kids dropping their bios or their huddle film on their tweet. So I think the best way is to make sure that you're trying to communicate with the coaches, maybe DM them, maybe get their email address, send them an email. Um, I actually had an entire website built so our kids could basically go on and contact any coach in the country, find out their email, find out their Twitter from any school in the country. They can basically go onto their own profiles and find these coaches and message them. Make sure that you're trying to establish a line of communication with the coaches within the required time because there are recruiting calendars out here where they can't respond to you, but try to establish some sort of relationship with the coach by DMing them. And if a coach ever DMs a kid, make sure that you reply back. And I think another thing is very important is how you communicate. I have a lot of kids that DM me via Twitter, and some kids are like, "Yo, coach, I think because of who I am, I'm not a college coach, but and I'm only out here trying to help. I will accept that." But I think a lot of coaches may not want to accept that. So learning how to write a well thought out message to a coach, I think that's going to be important for a kid as well.
I saw something, coach, that really made me shake my head. It's been a couple months, but it was a coach who had lost a family member or had someone pass away, and there were kids that were sending their huddle film in response to that tweet. Don't do that.
Oh yeah, that's
Don't
that's
don't do
bad taste. That's
that.
bad taste, bad character. And I tell kids all the time, like your character will unlock more doors than your athletic ability will ever unlock. And I look at this from a personal standpoint. When I went to junior college, that coach didn't know me from Adam, right? And I'm from out of state. But something about my character made him feel so good about me as a person that he just continuously wanted to help me um, advance, and it was solely due to my character. And even being drafted into the NFL, I had never played the cornerback position in college because I was a safety. But because of my character and my work ethic and my dedication that I showed every day, just showing up, those coaches kept me around. It wasn't because I was the best cornerback, and I know I was not the best cornerback because I had never played the position before. But your character will unlock those doors, and you'll beat out guys just because of your character because they want a high caliber athlete in the locker room. I can find a talented kid anywhere. There's thousands of them all over the place. But when you have the character, you have the work ethic, and you have the discipline, along with some athletic talent, coaches are going to pick that all the time.
Another thing to circle back around, you had mentioned it early, why relationships are so important. And one thing that stood out to me was make sure if a coach DMs you that you're replying to them. Now, that can be important. Maybe they're not at a school that you're interested in now, but coaches change and go to different schools all the time. So while that coach may not be able to help you or may not be at the school you're interested in now, 2 to 3 years down the road, they could be somewhere else and they could help you down the road, like you mentioned the coaches have done for you throughout your career.
Oh, that's a very key point. Coaches change all the time. And just because a coach is at a D3 now doesn't mean that he's not going to get elevated and become a D1 coach somewhere else. So if that coach is DMing you and you're being rude or you don't reply back, I mean, it's only going to hurt you in the long run because like I said, coaches are D3 coaches. Their main goal and focus is to coach at the D1 level. You know, most of them. So they're going to get their opportunity, and they, took the time to DM you. Just be respectful and DM them back. And this is a business, so you're bringing in all the correspondence from any coaches, any schools. I mean, you want that because that's going to just help you in the long run.
Continuing our discussion on social media, we've talked about some positives, we've talked about some negatives. Social media is still relatively new, and a thing in college football and college athletics in general that's new is the NIL. So social media can be used in branding, especially for those NIL deals down the road. If you have 10,000, 15,000 followers going into college and you're a top athlete, businesses are going to want you. So how do you kind of use in high school to build up to get to college? How do you use social media maybe for personal branding purposes?
I mean, this is social media is a free advertising platform. I've been in business for a long time for myself, and you know, with the introduction to social media, you learn like, wow, this is a powerful tool that we can use to brand our business. So the way that I always try to make sure that I'm relaying it to student athletes is you are your own brand. You are a business you're trying to sell your services to the schools. How do you do that? You market and you advertise. So any student athlete out here, you are a brand, and the best free advertising that you can do is on social media. So we've went as far as created logos for our student athletes. That way they have the idea, okay, I'm a brand, I have a logo, using their platform to sell themselves in a sense or their services to schools. And I think if a kid looked at it that way, that I'm a business, I'm a brand, and I'm trying to sell my business, they go into it with a total different mindset than just a kid thinking that his athletic talents are going to get him where he needs to be. Some cases, yes, but at the end of the day, you still are a brand, and it's just not always about your athletic talent, as we've already discussed. So showing that you can go out here and market and get deals with NIL, it is all about the branding that you have on yourself, with which is your character. Building the platform of Twitter and other social media platforms. And once you discover that, you're gonna get your mindset shifts, and that's, I think, important for kids to understand very, very early on.
Coach, tons of great information from you. Again, we really appreciate your time. Before we let you go, tell us about what's coming up for you this summer, and how kids can get connected with you and what you're working on.
Yeah, right now we're doing a series for student athletes. The first series was about social media. We broke everything down to them just like we're doing today. The second one was about NIL deals. I had one of my trusted guys. He's in the field of working with uh, college and pro athletes on getting them marketing deals and brand deals. So we brought him in to speak with our high school athletes about the NIL and how the best, get those things done early on. And so we're doing that. We're going to be hosting some camps over the summer and also some college visits. If you don't see the potential that you have, if you don't see, if you're not able to see those things, it's hard for someone that's living in an underserved community. It's hard for them to understand that they can achieve those things. So my goal and my organization, our goal is to make sure that we bring those things to light. We're showing them that they can accomplish things outside of just sports. We're using sports as a vehicle to get to the ultimate goal of achieving in life. So, I think more kids need to understand that it's, yeah, you using sports and football and all these things to earn this college degree, but have more intention of how you're out here moving around. We're just using sports as a platform to achieve great things. So I think these kids need to see that at an early age, and that's going to help them be more intentional of what they're doing with their lives.
Coach, great stuff. Thank you again. We appreciate it. And thank you guys for joining us here on the DR Sports Academy.